Amanda settles in next to her, waiting for her to read. She looks at the book. This was not one she or Ray bought. So this has to be from Emma. Who would have thought that Emma, of all people, would gather books that would ignite Ramanda's imagination? Dead. How small I look, laid out flat. My stomach touching ground. My right knee bent, and my brand new Nikes stained with blood. Ramanda reads with excitement. A knot forms in Amanda's chest, clenching her heart as her mind wanders off into a night that will forever plague her world. Amanda's mind is no longer in the room, as she still hears Ramanda reading. Those sentences put together triggered her to transport her thoughts to that night. Amanda, inebriated at 1 a.m., had realized that she was on the wrong side of Detroit's Wailing Wall. This was not a place where her kind belonged. She rolled down her window, and even the stench in the air seemed different. Hard. Suffocating with neglect. It burned her nostrils. Was that just the substance she inhaled prior to getting behind the wheel? She tried to find a street sign, but there were no signs left without damage or graffiti. Fucking savages, she thought. Who in the hell destroys their own neighborhood? The lawns were not well manicured. They did not pave the streets with care, and abandoned houses were thrown in between houses that looked like they should have been abandoned. She was in the depths of poverty's reality. Slowly, she drives so as not to damage her precious Mercedes. She feels a drip from her nose. She hurriedly stops to look in the mirror. Her nose had the evidence of a rich white party favor, and the harsh results of that favor intermingled with each other. The white dust floated on the drips of red coming from her nostrils. Shit! She fiercely searches for tissue in the glove compartment, where she finds her gun and tissue. Amanda grabs them both, wiping her nose with one hand and holding the gun with the other. I stoop and stare at my face. Amanda hears Ramanda continue to read as she replays that night in her head. My right cheek flattens on the concrete. My eyes are wide open. My mouth too. I'm dead. Ramadan. Ramadan tries his best to shovel the sidewalk quickly before his mother gets off her night shift. He poured salt on the ice to make it easier for her to enter their home. This was not something he was asked to do, but something he did on his own for her. His father was in prison, and all he had was his mother, so he wanted to make sure he did his duty of making her life easier. He heard the vehicle before he saw it easing down the street, driving a little off. You could tell that the driver was unfamiliar with the area, intoxicated. Maybe it was a combination of both. The car stopped in front of his house as he was finishing his mother's parking space. Damn, a Mercedes. He was in awe at the sight, not because it was a Benz, but because it had no tinted windows. It was sleek, and the car wasn't tinted with rims and whatnot. This meant whoever was behind the wheel might have gotten this car with legal money. It was kind of rare in these parts. Ramadan notices the white woman in her expensive clothes. Her window is rolled down, and you can smell the luxury wafting from inside of the car. He sees the blood coming from her nose as she frantically looks for something. The young man also notices his older half-brother coming down the way. Jerome was a devious degenerate. He knew that woman was in for it if he caught her right here. Amanda. I thought I was bigger. Tough. Ramanda reads. Amanda sees this big black tall figure with a shovel in his hand coming towards her. She panics, gripping her gun and looking for her cell phone. But I'm just a bit of nothing. Ma'am? Are you okay? Ramadan asks her with concern. Amanda hears the concern in his voice, yet she is still terrified. She hears the voice of a young child. However, Amanda does not associate innocence with blackness. Amanda associates blackness with violence and dark skin with deviant evilness. She was in the wrong part of town. She did not belong here. Amanda was not familiar with the natives of this side of the wall. This was the wild, and this was one of its beasts. She was determined not to be its prey. Amanda didn't have the elevated mindset to know she could deal with black people just like you deal with other human beings. She grips her gun, her heart beating fast. Maybe if she doesn't acknowledge him, he will go away. He will leave her rich whiteness untouched, untainted by his blackness. Amanda watches him out of the corner of her eye, looking down the street. He looks back down. Ma'am, you should hurry. Ramadan stops as he is faced with a shaking gun in the hands of a terrified white woman. He backs up with his hands up. My arms are outstretched like I'm trying to fly like Superman. Ramanda reading cuts through her memory as if she were the narrator. Amanda's tears run down her face as they did that night. The blackness pivots to run away from her. It barely turns, sprinting. She hears her daughter's narration. Amanda sees herself pulling the trigger not once, but pow, pow, 2 bullets. Legs gave way. I fell flat, hard. I hit snowy ground. It was as if whoever wrote this book was there that night. The sound must have sobered her up, because what she saw laying face down into that snowy gutter was not a villain, but an innocent child in all his beautiful blackness. And no amount of white snow from the heavens was going to be purer than the bloodshed of that black child trying to save a life.